The way that a mother loves a child is unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Like, I have dogs, and I thought, oh, it's pretty close. It's not.
Hello, Brie Larson. Welcome
Hello.
to Fandango FrontRunners.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. There are a lot of young actresses who wanted this role in Room. What was your combination of emotions when you found out that you got the part?
I think it's a combination of excitement and terror, which is usually the right combination, I think. Anytime I feel like I've really gotten to something worthwhile, it's when those two emotions meet.
The situation in this movie is a living nightmare. A mother and son confined to a 11 by 15 shed, essentially. I don't mean to equate these two things, but my understanding is that as a young girl, you lived in a studio apartment with your sister and your mother. Did you access that at all when you were thinking about Ma?
I didn't really put all of it together until right before we started shooting, but I realized that my mom was going through a divorce at that time, and me and my little sister didn't know. And so we had moved from Sacramento to Los Angeles, and we didn't have a lot of money. It wasn't until much later in my life where I started to remember, you know, the moment that I was woken up by her crying and kind of realizing that that was not something I was supposed to hear. And I never spoke about it until right before I shot Room. I went, whoa, like some part of me knew that that wasn't mine to see or to talk about. But I knew from that experience that my mom, with very little resources, created this sense of imagination in this world that was so big that I never knew that we didn't have any money. So because of that, I knew that I must have that inside me as well, and that everybody must have the capacity to be able to make the most out of a very hard situation. And so Room became an opportunity to relive that part of my childhood, but from my mother's perspective.
I want to watch one of the really intense scenes from Room with you.
Oh, great.
It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this together.
Okay, let's do it. Do you remember how Alice wasn't always in Wonderland?
She fell down, 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 deep in a hole.
Right, well, I wasn't always in Room. I'm like Alice. I was a little girl named Joy.
Nah.
And I lived in a house with my mom and my dad. You would call them Grandma and Grandpa.
What house?
A house. It was in the world. And there was a backyard, and we had a hammock. And we would swing in the hammock, and we would eat ice cream.
TV house?
No, Jack, a real house, not TV. Are you even listening to me?
This whole movie, the part in Room, is a study in parental patience. Was that fascinating to play, that dichotomy and all of the spectrum of patience in between?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm interested in general, in the characters that I play, is contradiction and complexity. Because we're not just one thing. And being an incredible parent doesn't mean that you do everything perfect every single time. It was important to have these moments where Ma's patience was tested, and where in fact there are moments where she seems like she's not a great Ma, where she snaps at him when she shouldn't. But then what happens is she immediately recognizes it and apologizes to him. They have such a strong connection. That was what I really was hoping to get at, was that in life, we don't do everything perfect. We're flawed human beings. But what takes real strength and beauty and courage is to be able to acknowledge that that was a mistake that happened and rectify that.
All right, well, let's see how the conversation continues.
When I was a little older, when I was 17, I was walking home from
Where
school.
was I?
You were still up in heaven. But there was a guy, he pretended that his dog was
What
sick.
guy?
Old Nick. We call him Old Nick. I don't know what his real name is. But he pretended his dog was sick.
What's the dog's name?
Jack, there wasn't a dog. He was trying to trick me, okay? There wasn't a dog. Old Nick stole me.
I want a different story.
No, this is the story that you get.
There's some moments where no matter what happens, Ma can just roll with it, and then there's these few moments where it's just almost too much for her to bear. Has this experience changed your outlook on becoming a parent one day?
No, it hasn't. But you worry that your darkness or your perception of the world, the bad parts of yourself are going to go on this kid, and that you can't protect them. But in working with Jacob, I realized that kids are incredibly resilient. I felt like he was made of rubber. It's a push and pull battle between parent and child. Your capacity, it just grows in this way that I had never felt, and it's painful. It's a painful kind of love, because it's like this floating piece of you that's outside that you can't fully control. you have to let it go and surrender it to the powers that be. And my mom had said things to me like that all the time. And she would say, you have no idea what it's like, what it feels like to be a mother. You won't know until you have a child. And Jacob became my first experience of feeling the just extreme depths of that, and how much it hurts and how necessary it is for life.
Is your mom aware of the huge effect that her strength has had now on this role and your career?
Oh, of course. I mean, there's been many moments that the gifts that she's given me have been extremely helpful to me in my life, even before Room. But when I was doing the active process of making this movie, and I was having this bizarre experience of trying to create an imaginative world for a little boy, much like what my mom did for me, I would just have these moments where I felt that it brought me to my knees, and I would call my mom. I feel like I probably called her 100 times over the course of this movie, crying, asking for forgiveness.
It's a fascinating film. It's a riveting performance by you, so I say well done.
Thank you.
And Brie, thanks so much.
I couldn't have done it without Jacob, that's for sure.
There you go. Well, that's clear. Well done.
Thanks.
If you have not seen Room, be sure to check it out. You can buy your tickets on Fandango. And thank you so much to the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX for having us here today. And thank you for watching Fandango FrontRunners.